19th, 1993, I was born.
And he was a really cute baby, by the way. I mean, it is phenomenal.
Yeah, I've been told that a lot. And I guess we'll jump forward and then backward. Recently, my mom gave me a bunch of my school pictures from elementary school, and I have to say I was a pretty cute kid.
Melted my heart. I want to put them all over our walls. But that would be weird.
All right, so grew up in Rhode Island, a very small town, as you can imagine. Rhode Island is the smallest state, and fun fact, Berkeley County here in South Carolina is bigger than the state of Rhode Island. So that's how small it is.
Yeah.
But growing up, my dad was in construction. My mom had developed a muscle disease when I was, I want to say, 6 or so. So my dad worked. He, like I said, he was in construction. My mom stayed home, ran the household. And yeah, I remember my dad waking up and going to work at all hours of the day, or morning or night. Sometimes he would do a double where he would work from 4 in the morning till noon. He would come home, sleep from 2 to 4, and then he would go back to work at 6 o'clock until like midnight later, and do that for like 2 or 3 days in a row. And yeah, that was big for me. I think I definitely learned a lot of work ethic from my father, which today is his birthday on the day of the recording, so happy birthday, Homer.
Happy birthday.
Love you. And then another funny thing is probably when I was like 12 or so, I don't even know when I started calling my dad Homer, because he kept calling me Buckwheat. So no idea where I know where the nicknames came from, why they got started, not 100% sure, but
They
here we are
stuck,
with
though.
them. They stuck. Yeah, growing up I played baseball primarily. Then once I got to like 8th grade, I started playing football. Played football throughout high school. I played lacrosse. And then, yeah, I would say my football coach was one of like my first actual mentors. He's retired now. He was a state trooper. Now he's a pastor. So it was kind of also my first introduction into religion. We went to church a little bit growing up, but I remember like my parents asking us, "Hey, you don't seem like you're interested. Do you want to keep going?" I'm like, "No." So, as most kids would
It's
say.
actually pretty rare that parents give that question. I mean, that's pretty cool that your parents thought to. I mean, it's all about making our faith our own, right? Like, they really gave you that opportunity to say, like, yeah, this is for me, or maybe I'm going to choose this at a different time, which is what happened for you. So it's pretty cool.
And then, so in high school, my football coach was really one of my biggest mentors. He's like 6'4", 250 pounds of muscle. He was, like I said, state trooper. He played semi-pro football as a fullback. And I remember even during practice, like, he would run us over without any pads on and just demolish us, and I'm sure have a lot of fun doing it. But, so then joined the Marine Corps when I was figuring out what I wanted to do for my life. I want to touch on something that kind of, I don't know, it's one of the things that I've always thought about, like, as I continue on in life. And one of my ex-girlfriend's parents, I was a kid, I was behaved, I just never got caught doing stuff. And one of my ex-girlfriend's parents said, like, you're going to fail at life, you're going to drink and party and smoke, and you're going to be a nothing. And I remember telling them, I was like, I'm 16, like, when it's time for me to grow up, I'll grow up. And like, at that point I knew that after high school I had 3 choices. I was either going to go to college, I was going to join the trades, or I was going to join the military. I finished high school because I knew I had to get to the next step of life. My dad, as you heard, was in construction, and he didn't want me to join the trades because he knows what it's like. So I had one option, and that was the military. And all my buddies were joining the Marine Corps, so I said, heck, if they're going to join the Marines, I'm going to join the Marines. So out of high school, joined the Marines. And it's actually funny. So I went into the Marine Corps as counterintelligence as my job. And then during boot camp, they do all the scare tactics and stuff. And I was going for my top secret clearance. And they asked me, have you ever, going in, I told them, my recruiter, as if you're about to join the military, your recruiter's going to lie to you. I'll just tell you that straight up. I told my recruiter that I smoked weed, and he goes, but have you smoked weed? I was like, yes. He goes, but have you? I was like, yes. He goes, but have you? No. Okay, no. So they give you this whole scare tactic. If you lie here, you can be prosecuted and go to jail after this interview with NCIS. And the first question is, have you ever done drugs? I was like, well, does smoking weed count? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, well, then yes. And like, all right, well, you're no longer going to be counterintelligence. Like right off the bat, I had to go. It was a long process. So after that, I didn't know what my job was going to be. And after boot camp, you go to MCT, Marine Combat Training, learn how to be a rifleman, how to fire, maneuver, use a gun. Well, not use a gun, but pretty much be infantry.
Yeah.
Every Marine is a rifleman first. So during that time, they told me that my job was going to be communication and navigation. I was like, oh, cool. So like, I'm going to be on the front lines with a radio. Not knowing that communication and navigation was actually going to be aviation communication and navigation. So after training, after MCT, I went to Pensacola, Florida for a school to learn the basics of electronics and how jets work and things like that. And then from there, went to Cherry Point, North Carolina to learn specifics on the Harrier jet, not the F-35 hover jet, but the OG hover jet. And yeah, I worked on that for 5 years. Tried re-enlisting, and in the military, you're supposed to get everything documented, everything that you do or get. And I didn't document any of my tattoos because
He has a lot of them, by the way.
I had a half sleeve and one on my leg, and one on my chest, ribs, and tricep.
It's not a bad thing. I love them.
Yeah, but as stupid as it is, they were out of regulations because I couldn't cover them with my hand. So once again, it was like one of those. I'm not a rule follower. If the rule doesn't make sense, I'm not going to follow it.
Yeah.
So I think that if I can't cover my tattoo with my hand, like, what's the big deal? Like, it is what it is. Well, the military saw it as a big deal. So they actually denied my re-enlistment because of my tattoos. When I got out, I moved back home to good old Rhode Island and got a job quickly working on Coast Guard ships and a port, so to speak. And then about a month after that, I got a job at Electric Boat being a test electrician on submarines. So think of anything that has a wire. I was testing it, making sure that it worked. I would try and break it to make sure that, do tests that people in the Navy would freak out that you do, because we're trying to break it and make sure that underway, when they're underwater, thousands of feet, that doesn't happen.
Right.
And then I wasn't liking my job. I was driving an hour and a half one way to and from work. So my ex and I decided that, plus along with that, going from North Carolina to Rhode Island, I didn't realize how much I didn't want to be in the snow anymore, and how seasonal depression was a thing.
Yeah, once you're out of it. It's like
Yeah.
going back. Is
Just like anything, like once you don't realize how the other side.
Exactly, yeah.
How the South is. Yeah, so about 3 years after being home, I realized that like I couldn't, one, be waking up at 3:30 in the morning anymore, and there are no good jobs in Rhode Island.